We will now continue our work by discussing suffixes. So, what is a suffix? A suffix is also an affix. It is a morpheme that is added at the end of a base word. A suffix added at the end of a word will change the word's meaning, the word's grammatical function, grammatical property, as well as type. For instance, when added ed, d, because these are the sounds of the ed, when added ed at the end of a verb, I am changing the meaning of the word, as now the action refers to something that occurred, that happened, that took place in the past. For example, I may say, I walked to the gym in the morning. This means that this is something that I did earlier in the day, in the morning, in the past. If I add s at the end of a noun, I'm turning the noun from singular, it stands from singular to plural. For instance, I may say ball. I will add the s, the morpheme s at the end, and now I say balls, which means many. So I changed the word from singular to plural. Knowledge of affixes and of suffixes specifically can support students' decoding, comprehension, spelling, as well as writing. Consider I'm working with the word biology. I want to write the word biology. If I know the meaning of ology, which means the study of something, I can read the word biology because I know bio means life, ology in this case means the study of, so biology means the study of life. So I can correctly spell the word since I know how to spell ology, but also I can understand the meaning in this case and the function of that word within a sentence. And that can support students' grammar understanding, because grammar can be really challenging for learners to grasp. And you know that when you're working with students and you're trying to support them with grammatical properties of words. Knowledge of suffixes can help students with their spelling and also expand their understanding about word origins and word meanings. For instance, when working with the word comprehension, the learner can identify the part comprehend from comprehend, which is a verb that they have encountered several times, and they can see the suffix ion, the shon part of that word, ion. It's not that now the word is just longer. It is longer. It is a larger word, a longer word, a bigger word. But now it serves a different grammatical function in a sentence as the verb has turned into a noun. I will say, I can comprehend better by taking notes. And in this case, comprehend is a verb, but then I can change the sentence to say, note taking supports my comprehension. And in this case now, I turn the verb into a noun and I change completely the sentence. So this function of that grammar is not just that it's changing the function of the words, but it also supports flexibility of the learner in the way that they will produce sentences when they are writing. And know how to spell those words when they are changing a word from a verb into a noun. So something we need to also consider is conjugation. That refers to the change that occurs at the end of a verb to show tense change, as well as time. For instance, I will say, I play the violin. She plays the violin. And I will add s now to indicate the change in the verb and also who is the one who does the task. So it's not that I do that now. I play, she plays, and I will add the s. I will say, for instance, she was working all night, and I will add ing to indicate the continuity in that action. So that she continuously was doing that last night, at night. So it's not just a matter of learning the suffixes, but understanding how the meaning changes, how the spelling changes within a given sentence. I say this because it's important not just to provide lists of words of suffixes for students to memorize. It's not just about memorizing or memorizing suffixes. It's understanding the function of those and what do they do in the sentences. What happens to a word within a sentence when a suffix changes. And when I say all this and I talk about the property and the grammar part, I think it's important to discuss what are the types of suffixes. So we have two types of suffixes. We have the derivational, inflectional. So we have inflectional and derivational. Derivational and inflectional. They are two types. So what are the inflectional suffixes? Let's start with those. Inflectional suffixes are used for grammatical reasons and may change a noun from singular to plural, from single to plural. For instance, earlier I gave the example balls to balls, fox to foxes, arrow to arrows. In this case, I'm adding es or I'm adding s and I'm changing from singular to plural. I can also change a verb from present to past tense. So I said earlier, I gave you earlier the example of walked. I can have pass to past, right? By adding the ed, I'm changing the word from present to past. I can also use it to compare items. So I will use er, I will use est. So I may say, the sun was brighter this summer, brighter. And by adding the er, I'm comparing this summer to the previous summer. Or I may say, the sun in Greece is the brightest I have witnessed ever. Brightest, meaning that the most bright out of all the other places that I have seen the sun being bright. So the addition of the suffixes will change the meaning. And again, it is an inflectional. It will change the function of a word. And it will, in this case, it will be for comparative purposes with the addition of er or est. What is now a derivational suffix? Derivational suffixes are used to change a verb to a noun, or they are used to change a noun to an adverb. For instance, I gave you the example comprehension earlier. In the word comprehension, the word derives from comprehend, which is the verb. By adding ion, I'm changing the verb into a noun. In the word denial, the word derives from the verb deny, and I added a l. And in this case, I changed the y to an I, and I read denial. Or in the word deferent, I will say defendant. I will say the verb is defend, and now I added ant, the suffix ant, and now I have the word defendant. And in that case, I'm changing the verb into a noun. Words also can be changed to adjectives. For instance, in the word wonderful, the full suffix will turn the word into an adjective, as in the day, as if I say, the day was wonderful until it started to rain. The day was wonderful, right? So I'm changing again. I'm adding the full suffix to turn the word into an adjective. Now, words can be changed to adverbs, as when I say quiet, and by adding ly, I will say quietly. He quietly walked into the room. Quietly. So again, I'm changing the words by adding a suffix into an adverb. The amazing part really with suffixes is that once we know them, we can grammatically tell a word's role in a sentence, and also we can better understand how to use those words in writing. So it is really exciting, and it's important for students to really get engaged with the use of suffixes, not just to learn them as lists. And I will be presenting to you a list that we are using in our work and in our lessons, but for them to understand the inflectional suffixes, the derivational suffixes, as these will support both their spelling as well as their own comprehension when they are working. And they will also support students' writing.